All right. From the studio of Fairfax City, we're very grateful that Tim Whelan accepted our invitation to our show. Tim, welcome to my humble podcast.
Thank you very much, Claudia.
No problem. Let's go back to the beginning of your life. How did you start in music and how?
How did Transglobal start, or how did I start?
Yeah, no. Before Transglobal, you were in other bands before.
Yeah. I was involved in bands from when I was a teenager. And I was in London. The main band I was in was called Furniture.
Mhm.
It was one of the many bands in the 1980s who got lost in the middle of the music business in the late 80s, which became a very overproduced and complicated thing. It's kind of getting a bit too much money in from the manufacturer's CDs. There was too much, and a lot of money was spent on strange things, and a lot of music kind of disappeared. And after that, you got a lot of people who ended up working in the electronic scene and the dance thing, which is one of the main reasons Transglobal Underground came along.
I got it. You knew back then when you were the Whelan of high school that you wanted to be a musician. It was
I was one of those people. Yes.
Yeah. So you were.
Some people come to it by mistake. Some people are a bit obsessive. I was one of the obsessive ones. Yeah.
I got it. What kind of, when you were, I don't know, 16, I think, what kind of music were you listening back in London at the time, if you remember?
All of it. I had naturally so this was actually a problem in the 80s and an advantage in the 90s. I was one of these people who didn't have very fixed tastes. One minute I'd be listening to disco, the next I'd be listening to something avant-garde, the next I'd be listening to rock and roll. So at the time, you really had to try and focus on one kind of style, which was something I was not very good at. Once in the 90s, it was very different. People mixed everything up.
Gotcha. Good for you, man. Yeah, as I say, I've been following your music for many years now. You are, it's hard to, if somebody were to ask, what your band is all about. It's a little bit of electro-world music fusion of Western, Asian, African, Arabic. It's a combination of different things that make it unique and great as well, right?
I think we always say that the origins of it came from London, maybe from Britain all over, but it was a period where a lot of people knew that with the population changing, with the culture changing in London, the music was going to change. And that took, and in the early 90s, that took a few years to come through. And Transglobal Underground was part of a wider group of people trying to change that.
I got you. Good for you. Yeah, good for you. How difficult was at the beginning, like the first 2 years or so to
the first 6 months
embracing a lot of people coming to London from different culture and different traditions?
Well, they weren't really coming; they were already there. I mean, for instance, the huge Asian Bhangra scene going on in London. There were big DJ events that were happening in the daytime because the kids weren't allowed out at night, and there was a whole enormous sales of cassettes. But none of these featured in the national charts. There'd been no way to relate what was happening in one market to the other market. Everything was happening very separately from everything else. When we started, we were really doing something on the electric dance scene, but it wasn't techno, it wasn't house. It confused a lot of people. And it kind of fell between that scene, the techno scene, and what people were calling, the more people like the Happy Mondays, Primal Scream, that kind of era. And the people who really opened the door for it all, I would have said, would be on one side, the people around Adrian Sherwood and On New Sound, who were coming more from a dub side. And then Andy Weatherall, who was coming more from a club side, and then did something much more eclectic. And I think those are the two people who came before us in terms of what we were doing. Maybe also Jar Wobble with Invaders of the Heart, who were on the same label as us at the time.
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
Soon after that, you had Talvin Singh and some of the clubs he started, and the Earth Tribe and various groups like that.
I gotcha. Very good for you, man. But early in your career, I think in 2008, you won the BBC Radio 3 award for the world music, right?
Around then, yes.
Yeah, so I'm quite sure that may have opened more doors as well. I mean, people were listening to the music at the time.
Actually, sometimes an award is more like for something you've already done than something that's going to happen to you in the future. It was a nice little thank you, but I don't think it changed what we were doing at all. No.
Yeah, I got you. It's always for band difficult to start and progress, but
it's always nice when you get an award, and I think you accept it for its own sake. Many people say with a lot of awards, the people sell less records afterwards. It's not unusual.
Really, is that right? Wow, that's very unusual, right? Usually you get rewarded for what you maybe know what you're doing, but what you have done in the past already at the time.
Exactly.
You did have people that were following, and you did have an audience, right? So it wouldn't, for the people that were going to see you guys, it wouldn't have made a difference whether you have received the award or not, right?
Yeah. And a lot of them didn't listen to Radio 3 anyway, so that didn't help. So.
I get you, yeah. And you always been like a very fluid lineup, right? Of course, you and Hamilton have been kind of the original member of the band, right? But many people were, coming and going way before Natacha came into the thing. But what was the reason?
Actually, so the original four, you could say, would have been myself, Hamid, Dubula, Nick Page, and Natacha.
I got it.
So that was early on, and then you would have Toop, who is still a major member of the outfit.
Yeah. A
lot of people have come in and gone.
Oh.
I mean, we have a kind of basic 5-piece lineup at the moment, but that varies. Natasha still comes and guests with us. She was with us at the last gig we did in Bratislava.
And it's always, well, for in your case, right? You is music your full-time job, so to speak, right? Or you have other things that you need to do in the meantime to survive, pay the bills, that sort of things, or?
Well, no one makes a permanent living out of Transglobal Underground, if they ever did. But then everybody was involved in other things. We were all working as either DJs, musicians with other people, producers. Everybody has always been busy with different projects.
I got you. Yeah. Yeah, nowadays is for the type of music that you play, and it's it isn't that you will have 10,000 people coming to a show or so. So it's difficult to make a living, I suppose, right?
I think it's difficult for everybody to make a living out of music now, unless you're already in the top part of the industry.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah, and you have, I think you and Hamilton met in the school day. I mean, early in
and then we were right? Very early on, and then we were both in furniture together. And so if you said that was basically a guitar-based band, he was playing a lot of rhythms that people were not expecting in that kind of music. And we were already trying to kind of move outside rhythmically what you'd expect out of kind of British pop. And took it further from then. But we were working together from the early 80s, yeah.
I got you. And what happened with furniture? Eventually, that came to an end, right?
Yeah.
But you guys I think you guys have success with that band, right?
No. It came
I mean,
to two. Actually, it came to two ends. It came
yeah.
to two ends. The first end was we had the last ever hit single on Stiff Records in 1986.
Yeah.
So that was a hit, but unfortunately, just as it got into the charts, the record company went bankrupt the next day.
Oh man. Yeah.
And there followed 2 years of legal malarkey, during which, bizarrely, we got asked by an organisation called the British Council to go and play the Middle East. So you've got this bunch of people who were being sued and were on the dole, playing around Egypt and Jordan to quite large audiences. They wanted us to go to Iraq, but the Iran-Iraq war happened just around then. So that was that. And that was one of the reasons, I suppose, being in that situation. Me and Hamid both got into listening to music that was from completely different cultures, and then came back to London and realised a lot of this was relating to what people were doing in London already. Just when we thought that was finished, that the problems had got too much to ever make music again with that group, the legal problems finished, and we got signed to Arista Records and made another album. And I won't bore you with the details, but that collapsed under a whole load of music industry nonsense. The record company had most of their staff laid off, and they couldn't sell anything at all. So that was at that point we gave up. We'd already finished once, so we thought we'd finish again.
Yeah.
The music's still available. I'm still quite proud of a lot of it. Yeah.
Sure. And I think you guys were in a different band called, could have been The Transmitter, if I remember correctly.
So during that period of being on the dole and being sued, I teamed up with a bunch of guys. The Transmitters had been a notorious bunch of people in West London, making quite mainly experimental music, and I joined in with them, and then Hamid joined as well, and then once we joined Nation Records, which is how we started with Transglobal Underground, they were Nation said to us, "Well, do you know anyone else who's thinking on the same lines?" And two of the Transmitters were thinking on the same lines, and that's how Loop Guru joined Nation Records. So the Transmitters actually were a kind of precursor to both Transglobal Underground and Loop Guru.
I betcha. Yeah. And I think that you guys were part of the, I think it's called Flavel, Bambi, Septet.
Ah, well, if you know that, that was the London Arabic wedding band. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we played kind of Iraqi folk music, klezmer tunes, and whatever went down at the time. I don't know if we played any of it very well, but we played it with a lot of passion, and that was a band of musicians from all sorts of different bands around London who'd get together to play this. And in fact, Natacha joined us at one point. She sang, she sang a few songs as guest vocalist when we first met her.
I got you. When you were part of when you were signed by the Construction Record, I think it was the Nation label in 1994, the Dream of Nation. That was the album marker, the group debut of Natacha Atlas at the time, right? That's when she joined.
So the first thing was Templehead, and that was simply a studio project.
Gotcha.
We did it without any idea what we would do with it or where we would take it. That came out on Nation. Deconstruction, who were like one of the big house labels at the time, based mainly in Manchester, they got hold of it and they said, "Well, you want to put this out, and we'll put it out and make it a big hit." And the usual things happened. It came out in August and they'd all gone on holiday, so it wasn't. And they gave us a budget to make an album. But once Templehead wasn't a hit, they weren't so interested, and they sold it back to Nation. So Nation got themselves an album for free. They didn't really have to pay much for it. We added, and by that point, we'd recorded the second single, I Voyager, and that's when Natacha was first featured on record with us. And that's really when the live band started to come together.
I got you. Yeah.
And that was very much with Nation. I mean, Deconstruction were useful in terms of letting us go into the studio and pay for stuff, but they were much more house-based, and I think it was what they heard was outside anything they were interested in. It was going too far out. 2 years later, getting into the mid-90s, when you had people like The Orb being pretty successful, it made perfect sense to everybody. But when we first recorded it, we were playing it to people, and they were going, "What the hell is this you've done? We don't understand it at all." So,
yeah. You guys always have been a unique type of band with, with in general, at least for the live performances, with dramatic custom and belly dance and endless percussion, and then member of the group discuss Nepalese temple guardians or so.
in the early days, we had them because, like I said, it was a studio project, and me and Hamid and WLO were going, well, how are we going to do this live? I mean, we don't want to look at ourselves. We don't want anyone to look at us. It's not meant to be. We're not even sure what we're going to play live. And along the way, we didn't really. We ended up with this visual idea of the masks, and we found a company in London that could do lightweight fiberglass versions of them. So that's what we used to wear live. Eventually, one day, we realised we all played much better if we weren't wearing them because we could see our instruments. So, but for the first year or so, we kept them on. Yeah.
Good for you. But in general, you have some. I mean, I was looking at the numbers at the time in terms of UK album chart, and Dream of Nation in 1993, you have one in the top 50s on the international time, another one in the top 40.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
Psychic Karaoke in 62. So you have some, at least early in your career, some hit, and you begin, people start following you. They were very unique band playing different instrument and unique sound.
But I think Dream of 100 Nations came out at a time when people were looking for some things that were unique. They were looking for things that were different. It was a very exploratory period, and you had a lot of very diverse music coming out. There's times when people just want to hear something that they're used to, and there's times when people are looking for something new, and that was one of those times. So, I mean, most of the album was made about 2 to 3 years before it actually came out.
Yeah.
I remember we were on tour. We went on tour before the album came out. We were touring Britain just before it. And you could really feel the build-up of interest. You could feel that everybody was waiting for it. It was a good feeling, we could feel very confident that we knew it was going to work. I suppose you could say we'd spent 3 to 4 years getting ready for it. And we'd been around long enough with all the kind of, previous failures that we'd learned in furniture. We kind of understood enough about how the business worked not to rush things, not to do anything before we were ready. And Nation were just in the right situation as well. It was a very good time. It was like a family of people. You had us, Natacha, Luke Guru, Fundamental. So when Dream of 100 Nations came out, it came out at the moment when the world was ready for it.
Yeah. It sometimes it's hard to kind of synchronize that, right? So you like this type of music, you want to do that type of thing, but the world or the scene in London needed to be looking for something like that. Otherwise, you could be a great band and disappear because the crowds are not there, right? Or the audience is not there to be receptive to your type of music.
I think it is partly a learning thing. I mean, you had people like, me. We'd learnt from the fact that with furniture, everything used to come out at the wrong time. And that's not just the record company's fault. That was our fault. We'd make the wrong music at the wrong time. And we had a much better idea of what would work and how it would work, but also when it would work. And that wasn't just us. Nation definitely everybody being through the same kind of things. We were similar ages. We'd all be through various minor successes and big failures in the 80s, and we'd all learned from that.
Gotcha. When you, in terms of media, right? When every new album that you end up releasing, You create CDs, vinyl as well, or people buy your type of music. Besides, we'll talk about the Spotify and Bandcamp later on, but do people still you create, I don't know, a set of 1,000 vinyl or a set of
It's a complicated question because you find if you ignore one format, it turns out to be the format people wanted. We definitely sell more. Actually, we do sell more CDs than anything else. We have I suppose, an audience that grew up at that time when CDs were the regular thing. So although there's a niche for vinyl, there's still people who buy the vinyl. Yeah, definitely. In fact, in the last 2 years, we noticed as we've been on the road, we sold a lot of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Problem with vinyl is it's expensive to produce, it's expensive to store, and you sell it quite slowly. You know.
Oh.
I mean, the last album came out on vinyl, and the other problem was the last album was over an hour long. You can't put that on vinyl. So.
Yeah.
We used to solve it in the past with by the albums are all double albums, but that's a very expensive process these days.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's expensive produced, and you don't know, how many you should, you do a batch of 1,000 or a batch of 500 or whatever, and you need to pay the money up front, and little by little, right? When you start touring, you can little by little record that investment and until at least you can break even, not lose money, and try to make a little bit of money, right?
We do well enough out of both the vinyl and CDs, though. Like everybody now, I think we sell more digitally than anything else.
I got you. In general terms, how are you going? If you can elaborate on your ongoing production relationship with Natacha. I mean, she's very well known on her own, but playing with you guys and it provides a great chemistry, if you will, in playing live, and a lot of people follow her, and I think her voice is unique for that type of music as well, and it's great that they do all the band members complement one another, but so feel free to elaborate on that as well.
Well, when her solo career started, it was all the same people. There was a famous occasion at WOMAD where we came on and played as Transglobal Underground, came off stage, took all the Nepalese temple masks off, changed our clothes, and we had to run round to the next stage and become Natacha Atlas. And slowly it became two separate projects, and what Natacha does now solo is much more jazz-based.
Correct, yeah.
When she comes on with us, she can play to a rather different, more dance-based audience, and it's for her, it's quite an enjoyable break. There's something a bit different. I think if she did it all the time, it would get on her nerves, I think. I mean, we're a lot louder than her band, and she likes to hear herself sing,
Yeah.
But yeah, we've done 2 with her this year, and they've both been really good experiences for everybody.
Yeah, with Natacha, right, and the band in general, because the band is willing to experiment, and I think everybody goes on a journey, listen to Natacha, singing, and which is a great combination of all of you, being on stage and with that type of music. So
there's normally a point with her where she'll be doing something you didn't expect at all, and you've got to go with it. And that's part of the beauty of it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great, because it's great to have some change.
The other thing that's great is that her relationship with Shima Mukherjee, the sitar player, Transglobal Underground, they often just we'll just often leave them to improvise for a certain period of time on stage, and there is a track on Walls of Ears where you can hear them. Basically, we left them called Future Ghost, where we left them to do it.
Got it, right.
Something they'd done on stage for years that we'd never recorded. And
is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys have when you say, well, I'm going to be, say, playing in Paris, just to name a city, you have you create a set list of what you want to play that night, but each of the artists think have like a a range of freedom, right? So a song that you thought that could last 4 minutes can last 6, depending of any positioning, extending the part and it being receptive. The audience has been receptive to it. Yeah.
I'd say we more have an idea that we tend to do a set where we know exactly what's going on all the way through. And then we'll put in something that none of us know how to play at all.
Wow.
We like to vary it between things that we understand perfectly well and things that we don't understand. You've got to challenge yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
The point is not to become complacent. I mean, obviously we've done these songs for a long time. And generally, we like to do the songs the way they are, the way that we see them. So our way of livening the setup will be to put in a song we haven't played for years, or put in a song we've only just started.
You wouldn't rehearse that before? Or not much?
I'd say not much.
Wow.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Wow. Good for you, man. That's great. And let's talk about the latest album, We'll Have Ear. It's that was about 2020. The pandemic came about, yes, and people were at home. How difficult was to create an album, because with the pandemic, people couldn't meet, and so you were sending files back and forth.
The album was already finished.
Oh, I see.
So the album came out in the middle of the first lockdown, everywhere, when everything was really locked down. And the result of that was Bandcamp had just started their Bandcamp Fridays. People were looking for music online. And in fact, the actual initial release was a success. Because people were looking for new music at that point. So we did pretty well at the beginning. The problem then was, of course, we couldn't play it live.
That's right. Yeah.
We didn't go on tour with it properly till 2022. So 2 years after it had come out.
Yeah. What's your take on Spotify? Because Spotify, you need to have millions of hits to make a $20 check, versus Bandcamp. I think Bandcamp only take 10% out of you, and then the 90% go to the musician director, right? So,
well, it's like, I don't know. There's different comparisons. Some people, I would generally say Bandcamp is like an old-fashioned record store, and Spotify is like a pirate radio station.
Yeah.
All I say about Spotify is that's how you spread the music around. It's as a source of money, it's irrelevant. Streaming of any sort isn't for most bands isn't a big source of revenue. There are people who make money out of streaming. There are ways to make money out of streaming, but a band, a group that makes albums, Spotify is of no purpose at all, except to say, hello, we got a new track out. That's what it does. It's to me, it's just a promotional thing.
Yeah.
So, Bandcamp is where you actually hear what we do. In the same way that, if you want to find an artist's greatest hits on Spotify, it's very easy to do. If you want to listen to one of their specific albums, it is really quite difficult. So if you want to hear what the artist actually does, Spotify is of no use. If you want to hear what they sound like, Spotify is very useful. It will give you the basic idea.
Yeah. It's a great mark for me.
So just to say, it's closer to an old-fashioned radio station, except it doesn't pay as well as the radio stations used to.
Yeah.
But that's the closest I'd get to it. It's not. I don't think of it as really as a source of income. It wasn't created for that. They didn't create it to give musicians income. They created it to give themselves income, and presumably that's what they've done.
Yeah. For me, it's a great tool to explore different bands, right? I pay like $10 a month or whatever, which I think is very unfair for the band. But I get access to millions of tracks, millions of new bands, and I'm always in the lookup for new bands, right? So if you listen to that band, machine learning algorithm recommend you other band never heard before, so it's great. But it's not that great for on the other side of the coin, right? Or on your end, where it's exposure, but no money to be made at all, right? So
I've got two answers to that. The first one is that we're living in an era where all forms of creativity, and I don't just mean artistic, I mean technical as well, are being less and less rewarded because the technology is taking over. And people who are actually thinking of stuff and creating stuff, it will go into the internet and become free. There aren't very many ways of making large amounts of money out of it, except initially. Also, when I started making music, I was told there was no possible way I could make any money out of it, that it couldn't be done. And me and the people I came up with, we found ways to make a living out of it. Well, there's a 23-year-old version of me running around now, or maybe even an 18-year-old version of me, and they're working out how to make money out of it. And that's how it will survive. Make money, vast amounts of money out of YouTube and TikTok. I don't, but they're younger people, and that's how it should work. Each generation comes up, they look at the situation as it is, and they work out how they can survive in it.
Yeah. What in general terms, what strategy are you going after in order to continue with the music and continue to make a living as also work? Still people buying music, right? So I have a big music collection, and I buy a lot of music every month, and I go to a lot of concerts. So I'm different than most people because I like to buy physical things, right? So being vinyl, being CD, being Blu-ray, I support via Patreon several artists, and I see close to 50 gigs a year or so here in Washington, D.C. So I spend money in music because music is important to me. But other people, they don't see it that way, right? They want everything free, and they will go to, I don't know, YouTube or download an album and listen 10 seconds for a track, next, and it's I don't know what's the balance, what's the.
I'm going to slightly contradict what I said about young people knowing how to do it and old people not knowing how to take advantage of it. I mean, as two examples, we financed Walls of Ears through crowdfunding.
Yep.
And that was really giving people physical product, old CD, stuff we'd already done. A lot of it was things that people wanted to own, as well as things that they could have online. And that's how we funded Walls of Ears. The next thing we did after Walls of Ears, we had a year's subscription where we made one album a month for a year. You had to be on Bandcamp to buy it. Each album had a companion playlist that, again, was only available on Bandcamp. It was a lot of work, but it was just done for the specific fans of the band. So we've done quite a lot of work, keeping in touch with the people who care about what we're doing. And that, I think, is the most important thing these days. People always talk about the fan base and this kind of thing. I find that I don't know about fan base. We were never a group that had fans exactly. We're more of a group that had participants. There used to be a joke about us that people used to think we were either phenomenally famous or they'd never heard of us at all. Whereas in fact we were in between. And we've been looking for the kind of in-between people, the people who are connected to us, who feel some kind of connection with what we do. And that's how you keep going. I think that's a group of this age. That's the important thing, I think.
How long, in general terms, what's the rationale when let's say you want to create a new album in 2025? You've been playing that some beat here and there, you get together with the band, you rehearse, and then you have enough to, I don't know, maybe 5 tracks, and you need to do the other 5 down the road. And what's the balance? What's the motivation to keep on releasing music?
Generally, every album we've made there'll be a few key ideas, a few tracks that we really want to do, and then everything else will build up around it. You get the big picture, and then you say, okay, what's missing?
Mm.
I was talking about Natacha and Shima just now. So during Walls of Ears, we were thinking about how they'd never actually been in a studio together. So one of the ideas was for them to get into the studio together and just see what came out. By the time that happened, we had quite a few tracks, and that seemed to be a missing element.
And then everything is every member of the band come with new idea, and
People come in and out. People come in and out.
You are kind of the main director of the band. Yeah.
We have the last couple of things we've done, we put the drum tracks on quite early and then tend to mess about with them. I mean, obviously Hamid's drumming is kind of part of what's going on with the band, so you can turn it into a kind of loop. You can use it. It will change. It might turn up on a different track.
Gotcha. Recently, you were touring. I think you just finished a tour, right? You did Lewis, Glasgow. You were in London, Birmingham, and so on and so forth. And I think I think you finished October the 30th, right? You did a festival with Natacha Atlas.
No, that's I think I know what you mean, but that will be in March next year now. That's moved.
Next year, right?
The last one we did was right at the end of August, which is a festival in Bratislava.
Yeah.
We have one more show this year in Brighton in November.
And any possibility of coming to United States?
We did.
Yeah.
You would have to have moved very fast to have seen us. We went to Detroit in July.
Oh wow! I didn't. Oh yeah, that was far away. What about? Yeah. Because the reason I'm saying it, Tim, here where I live in the Northern Virginia area, I live in the border between DC and Maryland. There's a lot of venues here. I mean, a lot of venues. People. The income per capita in this area is very high compared to other part of the country. So people have disposable income to go and see band and spend money in music and so on and so forth. So every band come this way, and I mean literally every band come this way. So hopefully down the road you guys can play. Huh?
We never did. We got as far as Baltimore.
Yeah.
No closer.
Yeah.
The last full tour of the USA we did was in 2008, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, 2006 maybe. I don't know. Yeah, around then, years back.
Well, hopefully we can see you soon. Maybe next year.
If we'd have to find an agent in America. The problem with getting to America is the cost of the work permits is enormous. Generally, you have to make a lot of income to get into America at all now.
Yeah, a lot of people mention like the working visa that are required to play here in the United States. So they need to have X number of gigs to make it worldwide. Otherwise,
generally, if you get 3 or 4 big festivals, that's the important thing.
Yeah.
And the last time was it was after the album Impossible Broadcasting, so that's a long time back.
Yeah. Are you guys
little appearances in Chicago and Detroit since then? That's the only other times we played in America.
Right. Good. Are you working a new album nowadays? Collecting tracks, stuff in the background that you could talk about it, or?
No, we're kind of on holiday.
Yeah.
I think we'll reconvene around October and start thinking about what to do for the next year.
Yeah.
There are plenty of ideas around, but we haven't started turning them into anything yet.
I got you. Good for you, man. Feel free to mention the website, the Bandcamp site where people can buy your music and so forth.
Well, the 3 main sites we use are there is a transglobalunderground.net, which is a general message where we keep messages of what we're doing.
Yeah.
The Facebook page is always very active, but the Bandcamp site is probably the most active thing we have.
Yeah.
And that's the useful thing about that is it's got the entire history of the band because it's got all the Nation Records albums on it as well.
That's great. Yeah.
And sometimes the problem with sites like Bandcamp is you'll get two or three people will have 2 or 3 different sites depending which record label's hosting it. We've got everything in one place. So if people want to have a look or have a listen to what we've done over the years, that is definitely the place to go.
I got you. Man, your music is great. I've been following you, the band, and Natacha for many years, and you guys are great, unique in what you do, and with different influences from different, like I said before, Latin music, different rhythm, Arabic music, Middle Eastern, and so forth. So it appealed to a lot of people out there in the world. So it's great that you're doing what you're doing. It was very nice talking to you, Tim.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Good luck with the new tour, and hopefully we'll see you playing live one day. And somewhere in the world. I go to London often.
Oh, well, if you come to London, you're more likely to see us. Yes, like I said, we never got south of Baltimore, as far as I can remember, unless you count San Diego. That's south, but
that's south. Yeah, but
the southeast and the south central, never. No.
Yeah, I will reach out to you and Natacha when I'm in London, and hopefully we can get together for a coffee or a beer. I'm interested in buying some of your music as well for you to sign it. So we'll get together when I'm there.
You'll be most welcome, Claudio. It'd be great to see you. And I mean, I spend most of my time in Paris now.
Yeah.
My family is, but the band, there's always a contingent of the band in London at any one time.
Okay.
Often me as well.
Okay. I think Natacha lives in Paris, right? No.
She lives in France. Lives down in the south.
Yeah.
She's a long way from here. Yeah.
Oh, I see. France is a beautiful country as well, man. I love going there too.
Yeah. No, she's closer to Spain, down in the southwest.
I see. All right, Tim. It was very nice talking to you. Good luck.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And we'll see each other very soon, man. Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Great to meet you. Okay. Bye.
Thank you.